In a luxury boutique known for exclusivity, a store owner mocks a black woman, dismissing her as out of place. What she doesn't realize, the woman she's humiliating, is the very designer of the store's best-selling collection. What happens next will leave you stunned. The luxury boutique, located in the heart of the city, was a symbol of exclusivity and wealth. Gleaming glass windows displayed meticulously styled mannequins, draped in elegant designer pieces that whispered sophistication. Inside, the air was perfumed with subtle floral scents, and soft classical music played in the background, blending seamlessly with the muted conversations of well-heeled customers and the clicking of high heels against polished marble floors. Maya Carter stepped inside, her casual sneakers making a distinct contrast to the boutique's upscale ambience. She was in her early 30s, effortlessly beautiful with smooth brown skin and natural curls framing her face. Dressed in a simple white blouse and tailored jeans, she carried herself with an air of confidence and calm. While she didn't fit the boutique's usual clientele at first glance, her quiet elegance hinted at a deeper significance. Today wasn't just an ordinary shopping trip for Maya. She was here to observe how her designs were being displayed. As one of the most successful emerging designers in the fashion world, Maya often visited stores anonymously to see firsthand how customers interacted with her collections. Maya wandered through the racks, running her fingers over the fine fabrics and noting the placement of her pieces. She was particularly proud of this collection, a harmonious blend of modern minimalism and vibrant cultural influences that reflected her journey as a designer. Her observation was interrupted when she noticed the staff's reactions. The boutique's employees, led by the owner herself, Victoria Palmer, exchanged glances and whispered amongst themselves. Their eyes trailed Maya with poorly disguised judgment, their expression suggesting she didn't belong. Victoria, a poised woman in her mid-40s with sharp features and an equally sharp tongue, watched Maya from behind the counter. Dressed impeccably in a tailored black dress, she exuded authority, though her demeanor hinted at an air of superiority. "Can I help you?" Victoria's voice cut through the air, dripping with condescension. Maya turned to face her, offering a polite smile. "I'm just browsing. Thank you." Victoria's gaze lingered on Maya for a moment longer than necessary. Her lips pursed in disapproval. Turning to a younger employee nearby, she muttered, "Some people just wander in without realizing this isn't their kind of store." Maya overheard the comment, but chose to remain silent, her expression unchanging. She was used to these kinds of assumptions and knew better than to react immediately. Instead, she continued her exploration of the boutique, noting the judgmental stares and whispers around her. As Maya approached a rack showcasing one of her signature pieces, a bold and intricately designed dress, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and discomfort. The boutique was supposed to reflect her values, elegance, inclusivity, and empowerment, but the atmosphere was anything but welcoming. Maya decided to test the waters, setting the stage for what was to come. Victoria Palmer, the boutique's owner, prided herself on running one of the city's most exclusive shops. She often boasted about her ability to spot true clients at a glance, a thinly veiled excuse for judging people based on their appearance. When Maya Carter entered the store, dressed in her understated attire, Victoria had already decided she wasn't worth the time. Victoria approached Maya with a forced smile that barely masked disdain. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" she asked, her tone overly polite but laced with condescension. Maya met her gaze calmly. "I'm just browsing," she said evenly, not letting Victoria's tone affect her. Victoria's sharp eyes flicked to the rack Maya had been inspecting. Among the boutique's many designs was one of Maya's signature pieces, a sleek, vibrant dress that had become a bestseller. But Victoria didn't know who she was speaking to and certainly didn't realize the significance of the dress. "Careful with that," Victoria said abruptly as Maya reached for the dress. "That's one of our most expensive pieces. It's not for everyone." Maya paused, her hand hovering near the fabric, and looked at Victoria with a raised eyebrow. "I'm aware of its value," she replied, her tone calm but firm. The comment seemed to irk Victoria, who stepped closer, blocking Maya's view of the rack. "You know," Victoria began, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret, "a lot of people come in here just to look. Not realizing what it takes to actually shop here, Maya's lips curved into a polite but tight smile. Is that so? Exactly, Victoria said, nodding. We cater to a specific clientele, people who appreciate true quality. She cast another glance at Maya's simple outfit. I'm not sure this is your kind of place. Several other customers had started to notice the exchange, their eyes darting between Maya and Victoria. One or two looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Others, drawn to the scene, watched with mild curiosity. Victoria's tone grew sharper when Maya didn't leave. If you'd like, I can show you something more practical, she offered, gesturing toward a small display near the back of the store. The items there were notably simpler and less expensive. Maya let out a soft sigh but kept her composure. Actually, she said, I was interested in trying on that dress. She pointed to her own design, hanging prominently on the rack. Victoria stiffened, her smile now fully gone. I don't think that's a good idea. We wouldn't want it to get damaged. Damaged, Maya repeated, her voice calm, but tinged with disbelief. Yes, Victoria said with a smirk. We have to be careful with these items. They're not meant for casual browsing. The judgment in her tone was unmistakable. Maya could feel the tension in the room growing, but she remained poised. She decided it was time to let the situation unfold naturally. Maya stood silently for a moment, letting Victoria's words linger in the air. The boutique owner's condescension was now blatant, and the tension in the store was palpable. Several customers and staff members had paused their activities, drawn to the unfolding drama. Victoria, emboldened by Maya's calm demeanor, decided to escalate her stance. You know, she began, her voice loud enough for others to hear. Some people walk into places like this without understanding what luxury really means. They waste our time, pretending to shop for things they can't afford. The jab was unmistakable, and Maya felt the weight of the stares around her. She noticed a couple whispering to each other, one looking uncomfortable, while the other smirked in agreement with Victoria's words. I'm not here to waste anyone's time, Maya said firmly, her calm voice cutting through the room. Victoria crossed her arms, a smug smile playing on her lips. Then let me save you some trouble, she said. This boutique caters to clients who appreciate exclusivity. Perhaps you'd feel more comfortable somewhere less refined. A low murmur rippled through the room. Some customers glanced at each other with raised eyebrows, while others seemed to revel in the scene. Maya's eyes remained steady, locking on to Victoria's. And what makes you think I don't appreciate exclusivity? Victoria chuckled, shaking her head as if Maya's question was amusing. Let's be honest, she said. It's clear you're out of place here. She gestured toward the door. Perhaps another boutique would suit you better. The insult hung in the air, and Maya could feel the judgment emanating from Victoria and some of the onlookers. But she refused to let the owner's arrogance shake her composure. Excuse me, a voice interrupted. It was one of the boutique's younger employees, a woman named Emma who had just entered the room. She looked flustered, her eyes darting between Victoria and Maya. Emma's sudden appearance seemed to jolt Victoria slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. Is there a problem? Emma hesitated before stepping closer to Maya. I just wanted to welcome Miss Carter, she said, her voice wavering slightly. I didn't realize you'd be visiting today. Victoria's smile faltered, confusion flickering across her face. Ms. Carter, Emma nodded, glancing nervously at Maya. Yes, Maya Carter, the designer of the Nova collection. She gestured toward the rack where the bold, intricate dress Maya had admired was displayed. The room fell silent. Victoria's smug expression froze as the weight of Emma's words sank in. Her eyes darted to the rack, then back to Maya. The realization was like a thunderclap. Maya Carter wasn't just another customer. She was the creator of the boutique's most sought-after designs. Victoria's face turned pale, her confidence draining away. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. The onlookers, who had been enjoying the drama moments before, now looked at Victoria with a mixture of shock and disdain. Maya took a step forward, her voice steady but firm. You assumed I didn't belong here because of how I look. You judged me without knowing anything about me. And now, you've embarrassed yourself and your boutique. Victoria stammered, her words tripping over themselves. I didn't realize, I didn't know. That much is clear. Maya interrupted, her tone icy. She turned to Emma. Thank you for stepping in. Could you please arrange for me to speak with the manager in private? Emma nodded quickly. Of course. Ms. Carter. As Maya followed Emma toward the back office, she felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about her. It was about standing up to the prejudice that had been casually displayed. She knew this was far from over. As Maya followed Emma into the boutique's back office, the murmurs from the lobby followed her like an echo. Customers and staff alike had been stunned into silence moments earlier, and now the weight of the revelation was finally sinking in. Victoria Palmer trailed behind them, her usual confident stride replaced with hesitant, faltering steps. The owner's face was still pale, and her eyes darted nervously as if trying to process what had just happened. She had made a terrible mistake, and now the consequences were unfolding in front of everyone. Inside the office, Emma closed the door gently, her nervousness evident as she gestured for Maya to take a seat. Maya declined, choosing instead to stand near the desk, her composed demeanor commanding the room. Victoria stood by the door, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Ms. Carter, she began, her voice shaky. I truly didn't realize who you were. If I had known. Maya raised a hand, silencing her. That's the problem, isn't it? She said evenly. You didn't know who I was, so you assumed I didn't belong. Victoria flinched at the bluntness of Maya's words. This wasn't just about me. Maya continued, her voice growing firmer. You judged me the moment I walked through the door. You treated me like I didn't deserve to be here. How many others have you treated the same way? Emma shifted uncomfortably, but nodded in quiet agreement, her gaze fixed on the floor. Victoria's lips parted as if to respond, but no words came. Maya stepped closer, her piercing gaze locking onto Victoria's. Do you know how damaging behavior like yours can be, she asked, not just to the people you humiliate, but to your own reputation, your business, and the values you claim this boutique represents? Victoria swallowed hard. I never meant to. You meant to. Maya cut in, her voice calm but unyielding. You meant to dismiss me because of my appearance. You meant to make me feel unwelcome. You meant to assert your authority, assuming I had none. Victoria's shoulders slumped, her earlier arrogance completely evaporated. Maya turned to Emma. How long have you worked here? She asked. 3 years. Emma replied softly. And in those 3 years, how many times have you witnessed something like this? Emma hesitated, her eyes darting toward Victoria. More times than I'd like to admit, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Maya nodded, her suspicions confirmed. She turned back to Victoria, who was now visibly trembling. This isn't just about an apology. Maya said, this is about accountability. If this is how you treat your customers, you don't deserve their business. And if this is how you allow your staff to behave, then you failed as a leader. Victoria opened her mouth to respond, but once again, Maya held up a hand. Save it, she said firmly. We'll address this properly, but for now, I have something else to do. Maya walked back into the lobby, her head held high and her composure intact. The room went silent once more as every eye turned to her. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya began, her voice carrying through the boutique. I'd like to thank you for your patience. What you witnessed earlier was unacceptable, and I assure you, steps are being taken to address it. The onlookers exchanged glances, their expressions ranging from curiosity to admiration. Maya gestured to the rack featuring her designs. These pieces represent hard work, creativity, and inclusivity, values that should be reflected in every part of this boutique. If they aren't, then we have a problem. Her words were met with a smattering of applause from some of the customers, while others nodded in quiet agreement. Maya turned to Emma. Please arrange for me to meet with the rest of the staff, she said. There's work to be done. As Maya left the lobby, she could feel the atmosphere beginning to shift. This was no longer just a boutique. It was a stage for change, and she was determined to lead the way. Back in the boutique's office, Maya sat at the head of the small conference table, exuding the quiet authority that had disarmed Victoria earlier. The tension in the room was palpable as Emma returned with the rest of the boutique's senior staff, each of them aware that this meeting was not going to be a routine discussion. Victoria sat stiffly across from Maya, her usual composure nowhere to be seen. Her hands fidgeted with the edge of her blazer, and her gaze rarely left the table. Emma stood near the door, hesitant but attentive, as if ready to step in should the situation escalate further. Maya cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention. Let's start with the obvious, she began. What happened earlier wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a reflection of the culture here, one that allows judgment and prejudice to dictate how clients are treated. Victoria looked up sharply, her cheeks flushing. Ms. Carter, I assure you, that's not the case. Maya held up a hand, silencing her. Please don't interrupt, she said evenly. What you assured me earlier was that I didn't belong here. That assumption wasn't based on my actions or my words. It was based on how I look. A murmur rippled through the staff seated around the table. Some avoided Maya's gaze, while others nodded slightly, acknowledging the truth in her words. This isn't just about my experience, Maya continued. It's about how many other people have walked through those doors and faced the same treatment. How many potential customers have been alienated. How many opportunities have been lost because of someone's biases. Victoria opened her mouth again, this time more cautiously. I admit my behavior was wrong, she said, her voice faltering, but I didn't mean to offend anyone. I was just trying to protect the store's reputation. Maya leaned forward, her eyes narrowing slightly. Protect the store's reputation, she repeated. By publicly humiliating a customer? By making assumptions about who is worthy of being here? Do you think that reflects well on this boutique? Victoria looked down, her silence speaking louder than any words. Maya shifted her gaze to the rest of the staff. This isn't just about one person's actions, she said. It's about the environment that allows those actions to go unchecked. If no one here is willing to challenge that behavior, then everyone becomes complicit. Emma finally spoke up, her voice soft but steady. Ms. Carter is right, she said. I've seen this happen before, not just with Victoria, but with other staff members. It's not fair, and it's not what this boutique should stand for. Maya nodded in acknowledgement. Thank you, Emma. Your honesty is appreciated. She turned back to Victoria. This is your boutique, your brand. But right now, it's clear that changes need to be made if you want to uphold the values you claim to represent. Victoria looked up, her expression a mix of frustration and resignation. What do you suggest? Maya leaned back in her chair, her tone calm but resolute. For starters, we'll be implementing mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all staff. That includes you, Victoria. We'll also establish an anonymous feedback system for both customers and employees to report incidents like this. The room was silent as Maya outlined her vision for change. This boutique can't just be about luxury, she said. It has to be about inclusivity, respect, and fairness. If we can't achieve that, then everything else is meaningless. Victoria nodded reluctantly, realizing she had little choice but to comply. Understood, she said quietly. Maya rose from her chair, signaling the end of the meeting. I'll be following up on these changes personally, she said. I expect everyone here to take this seriously. This isn't just about fixing a mistake. It's about building a better future for this boutique. As the staff began to disperse, Maya caught Emma's eye and offered her a small smile. Thank you for your support, she said. Emma smiled back, a hint of relief visible in her expression. It's the least I could do, she replied. Maya turned to leave the office, her determination stronger than ever. This was only the beginning of the transformation she intended to bring. The lobby of the boutique was quiet, the usual hum of activity replaced with a tense anticipation. Customers lingered near the displays, pretending to browse, but clearly waiting to see what would happen next. Staff members stood behind counters or near the dressing rooms, their postures stiff and their expressions uneasy. Maya Carter emerged from the back office with Victoria Palmer following closely behind. Unlike her earlier confident strides, Victoria now walked hesitantly, her head slightly bowed as though weighed down by the situation. Maya's presence, however, remained poised and commanding, exuding the quiet authority that had carried her through the day. Maya stopped in the center of the lobby and turned to Victoria, her voice calm but firm. Victoria, she said, you have something to say to everyone here. Victoria hesitated. glancing around at the faces of the customers and staff who had gathered to watch. Her cheeks flushed, and she clasped her hands nervously in front of her. She began, her voice barely above a whisper. Maya gave her a steady look, silently urging her to continue. Victoria cleared her throat and tried again, louder this time. "I want to apologize," she said, her voice trembling, "to Ms. Carter, to our customers, and to my staff. My behavior earlier was unacceptable. I made assumptions that were wrong and hurtful." The crowd remained silent, their attention fixed on Victoria. She took a deep breath and continued. "This boutique is meant to represent elegance and inclusivity. Today, I failed to uphold those values. I deeply regret the way I treated Ms. Carter, and I promise to do better." A few customers exchanged glances, their expressions softening slightly. One woman nodded approvingly, while another crossed her arms, still skeptical. Maya stepped forward, addressing the room. "I appreciate the apology," she said, her voice clear and even. "But words alone aren't enough. This incident isn't just about one person's behavior. It's about ensuring that no one else ever feels unwelcome here again." She turned to Victoria. "Actions speak louder than words. This boutique has a lot of work to do to regain the trust it claims to value." Victoria nodded, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I understand," she said quietly. Maya shifted her attention to the crowd, her tone softening slightly. "To our customers, I want to thank you for your patience today. What happened here was unacceptable, but I promise you, change is coming. This boutique will be a place where everyone feels respected and valued." A few scattered claps broke the silence, growing into a small but genuine round of applause. The atmosphere in the room began to lighten, the tension easing as Maya's words resonated with the audience. Victoria, visibly relieved that the moment was over, looked to Maya with a faint, hesitant smile. Maya returned her gaze briefly before walking toward the door. As Maya exited the boutique, the whispers of approval and admiration from the customers followed her. It wasn't just a moment of accountability. It was the beginning of a transformation. Later that evening, Maya sat in her spacious studio apartment, overlooking the city skyline. The events of the day replayed in her mind: Victoria's prejudice, the confrontation in the back office, and the public apology. While the apology had been a small victory, Maya knew it wasn't enough. The problem wasn't just about one person or one incident. It was about the deeper systemic issues within the industry. Maya leaned back in her chair, scrolling through customer reviews of the boutique on her laptop. Many of the comments echoed her own experience: subtle microaggressions, dismissive attitudes, and an overwhelming sense of exclusivity that catered to only a select group of people. "This has to change," Maya muttered to herself, her resolve hardening. The next morning, Maya returned to the boutique, not as a customer but as a leader. She had arranged a meeting with the boutique's management team, determined to address the systemic problems head-on. The conference room was filled with staff, including Victoria and Emma, as well as other senior managers. Maya stood at the head of the table, her calm but commanding presence immediately capturing everyone's attention. "Let's talk about what happened yesterday," Maya began. It wasn't an isolated incident. It was a reflection of a culture that has been allowed to thrive here, a culture that excludes and alienates people based on assumptions and biases. Victoria shifted uncomfortably in her seat, while some of the other managers exchanged uneasy glances. Maya continued, her tone firm but constructive. "This boutique is meant to represent elegance, creativity, and inclusivity, yet the experiences shared by customers and even some employees suggest otherwise. If we don't address these issues, we risk losing not just our clientele, but the very values we claim to stand for." She pulled out a document outlining her proposed changes. "Here's how we move forward," she said, distributing copies to everyone in the room. The document detailed a comprehensive plan, mandatory diversity and inclusion training. All employees, from senior management to junior staff, would participate in workshops designed to address implicit biases and promote inclusivity. Anonymous feedback systems. Customers and employees could report incidents or share suggestions without fear of retaliation. Hiring practices. A revamped hiring process would prioritize diversity, ensuring the boutique's team reflected the broader community. Customer service overhaul. Staff would be trained to provide the same level of respect and service to every client, regardless of their appearance or background. Maya looked around the room, gauging the reactions. Emma nodded enthusiastically, while others appeared skeptical. Victoria, her pride still bruised, raised a hand. This all sounds ambitious. Victoria said cautiously, but don't you think it might alienate some of our current clients? They expect a certain level of exclusivity. Maya's expression didn't waver. Exclusivity doesn't have to mean exclusion, she said firmly. True luxury isn't about keeping people out. It's about creating an experience that makes everyone feel valued and respected. The room fell silent, her words resonating deeply. Emma spoke up next. I think this is exactly what we need, she said, her voice steady. We've been stuck in the past for too long. It's time to move forward. Maya nodded in appreciation. This isn't just about fixing a mistake, she said. It's about setting a new standard, one that ensures. This boutique becomes a place where creativity and inclusivity go hand in hand. By the end of the meeting, the management team had agreed to implement Maya's proposals. While there was still resistance from a few, the majority recognized the need for change. As the staff dispersed, Maya remained in the conference room, watching the boutique's floor through the glass walls. She could already see the beginnings of a transformation, not just in the boutique, but in the attitudes of the people who worked there. This is just the start, she said to herself, her determination unwavering. Maya didn't just stop at transforming the boutique. She turned her attention to the broader fashion industry, recognizing the systemic barriers faced by designers and consumers from marginalized communities. She decided to use her influence to spark meaningful change. Her first step was to partner with local organizations to host events promoting diversity in fashion. These events included workshops for aspiring designers from underrepresented backgrounds, giving them a platform to showcase their talent. Maya also organized networking sessions where participants could connect with established industry professionals, bridging the gap that had excluded so many for so long. The boutique itself became a hub for these initiatives. Maya transformed its elegant showroom into a space where creativity and inclusivity thrived. One of the first events was a diversity in design showcase, where up-and-coming artists displayed collections inspired by their cultural heritage. The event drew a large crowd, including industry leaders, local media, and community members eager to see the boutique's transformation in action. Maya used these moments to share her story. During a panel discussion at one event, she recounted her experience with Victoria's prejudice and how it underscored the need for change. What happened to me wasn't unique, Maya said, her voice calm but resolute. It happens every day, in ways both big and small. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Her message resonated, spreading far beyond the events themselves. Social media buzzed with praise for Maya's efforts, and the boutique became a trending topic. Posts tagged with hashtag Fashion for All and hashtag Maya Carter Transformation flooded platforms, with people sharing their own stories of exclusion and celebrating the boutique's new direction. The viral attention brought an influx of positive publicity. Media outlets covered Maya's journey, from the initial confrontation to her ongoing efforts to reshape the boutique's culture. Articles highlighted her work as a designer and her leadership in advocating for inclusivity in the industry. The boutique, once a symbol of exclusivity, now represented transformation and progress. Customers began to flock to the store, not just for its luxurious offerings, but for what it stood for, a space where everyone felt welcome. Sales surged, and the boutique's reputation soared as it became a model for how businesses could address systemic issues and thrive. Maya felt a deep sense of fulfillment watching her vision come to life. The boutique wasn't just selling clothes anymore. It was inspiring change and setting an example for others to follow. For Victoria Palmer, the aftermath of her encounter with Maya Carter was a humbling and uncomfortable experience. Once the revered owner of the boutique, she now found herself at the center of scrutiny, both within the store and beyond. Following an internal review initiated by Maya, the findings were clear. Victoria's behavior wasn't an isolated incident. Complaints from both customers and staff painted a consistent picture of bias, arrogance, and a lack of accountability. The evidence left no room for excuses. Victoria was demoted from her position as owner-operator to a less authoritative role, effectively removing her from decision-making responsibilities. Along with her demotion, she was required to attend mandatory training sessions on customer service, inclusivity, and bias awareness for a woman who had always prided herself on her authority. The consequences felt like a public reckoning. The boutique staff noticed a change in her demeanor. Victoria, once commanding and smug, now seemed quieter and more reserved. She participated in the training sessions without protest, though her reactions were difficult to read. At times, she appeared genuinely reflective, but at other moments, a flicker of resentment crossed her face. One afternoon, as she sat alone in the boutique's office, Victoria stared at a photo of the boutique's grand opening years ago. In the photo, she stood proudly in front of the store, surrounded by smiling staff and excited guests. The boutique had been her dream, but now she questioned the foundation on which she'd built it. Her thoughts turned to the moments leading up to Maya's revelation. She replayed the words she had spoken, the assumptions she had made, and the condescension in her tone. For the first time, she saw herself through the eyes of others, and it wasn't a flattering image. "Why did I assume?" she muttered to herself, her voice tinged with regret. "Why didn't I just listen?" Victoria's reflection was interrupted by a knock on the door. Emma, the young employee who had spoken up during the confrontation, entered cautiously. "Victoria," she began, her voice soft, "I just wanted to check on you." Victoria managed a faint smile. "Thank you, Emma. I appreciate it." Emma hesitated for a moment before adding, "I think it's good that things are changing. It's not easy, but it's necessary." Victoria nodded slowly. "You're right," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is necessary." Whether Victoria truly embraced the lessons from this experience remained ambiguous. While she showed signs of introspection, the deeper work of unlearning her biases was far from complete. Her future at the boutique hung in the balance, dependent on her willingness to adapt and grow. For the staff and customers, however, her downfall served as a powerful reminder. No one was above accountability. The boutique's transformation under Maya's leadership had set a new standard, one that left no room for prejudice or exclusion. Months after the transformative events at the boutique, the store's atmosphere was unrecognizable. What once felt cold and exclusionary now exuded warmth and inclusivity. Maya Carter's leadership had ushered in a new chapter, one defined by respect, creativity, and diversity. The changes were evident the moment customers walked through the doors. The staff greeted everyone with genuine smiles and a newfound enthusiasm. The boutique now boasted a more diverse team, reflecting the community it served. Emma, the young employee who had bravely spoken up, had been promoted to a managerial role, embodying the boutique's commitment to rewarding integrity and dedication. Maya's vision extended beyond the store's operations. She introduced a rotating spotlight on local designers, showcasing their collections and giving them a platform to share their stories. The initiative brought fresh energy to the boutique and attracted a wider clientele. Customers were no longer just shopping for luxury. They were supporting a cause and celebrating creativity. The boutique also hosted regular events, from fashion shows to community workshops on inclusivity in the fashion industry. These gatherings brought people from all walks of life into the store, fostering connections and conversations that transcended the world of luxury retail. Maya often reflected on how far the boutique had come. On one particularly busy afternoon, she stood near the entrance, watching the bustling activity around her. A young girl and her mother admired a display of dresses, while a group of friends laughed as they tried on accessories. The joy and energy in the room were contagious, a stark contrast to the tension she had felt during her first visit. This is what it should have always been, Maya thought, a sense of pride swelling within her. Victoria, though still a presence at the boutique, kept a much lower profile. Her demotion and mandatory training had been a wake-up call, and while she had yet to fully regain the trust of her staff, her behavior had noticeably softened. Whether she would truly change remained uncertain. But Maya had made it clear that the boutique's new standards were non-negotiable. The boutique's transformation didn't go unnoticed. Media outlets covered its journey, Praising Maya's leadership and the positive changes she had implemented, the boutique became a symbol of how businesses could evolve, addressing their flaws and emerging stronger. Sales soared, but more importantly, the boutique had earned the trust and admiration of its customers. On a quiet evening, as the store prepared to close, Maya took a moment to reflect. She walked past the display of her designs, the intricate fabrics and bold patterns, a reminder of her journey. She thought about the days she had been dismissed and underestimated, and how that painful moment had become the catalyst for something greater. Standing by the window, Maya looked out at the city, her heart full of hope. The boutique was thriving, but her mission wasn't over. She knew there were more barriers to break, more spaces to transform, and more voices to amplify. The story of the boutique's transformation was a testament to the power of standing up to prejudice and leading with integrity. For Maya, it was a reminder that even in the face of adversity, one person could ignite change that rippled far beyond their own experience.